Hey everybody, I'm Sean from Sean Streams HD. And I wanted to go ahead and show you how to paint the rings in these Corsair fans. I see a lot of customization online and with these pre-built PCs, and it seems pretty cool what they're doing with some of the colored fans, and it's a really great way to customize your computer. So on this latest PC build, it was a PC Hackintosh build, I realized I wanted to go with a black and gold theme. So I thought the best way to complete that theme is to paint these fan rings. And I looked on some forums and I found a few instructions and a couple people had some ideas. So I wanted to go ahead and show each of you how to paint these fan rings, with the step-by-step instructions and showing you everything that you need. So to get started, some of the things that you actually need are some sandpaper by 3M. I have 220 grit and 400 grit. Here are the fans that I'll be using. It's the AF120 and the AF140. Also, you'll need some mineral spirits, and this basically removes any residue or any particles left over from when you actually sand the fan rings. And here's the paint. I have by Rust-Oleum. I have a metallic paint, and I have a primer. And the reason why I'm going with the primer is because this metallic paint right here isn't specifically for plastics. I think Krylon actually makes a paint that's specifically for plastics, so it's going to adhere a little bit better. But the primer basically helps so that any existing color on the fan rings doesn't actually show through. And I usually do 2 coats of each. Alright, so the first step would be the sanding, so let's go down and take a look at that. Okay, step 1 will actually be sanding the fan ring down. So for an unboxing of the AF120, I'll go ahead and open it up and see what we have. So here's the fan with a red fan ring on, and down underneath here you actually have a blue and a white fan ring. And inside here you have a fan extender and a couple screws. So what I do is I specifically choose to work with the white fan ring because that way you don't have to worry about any color bleed coming through. With this bright blue color, there could be a chance that maybe if you don't paint it enough or do enough coats that this blue might show through. So we're going to start working with the white fan ring. And also I recommend when you start sanding to use some kind of respirator because there's a lot of fine dust and you don't want to get this in your lungs. So what I'll be using is the 220 grit sandpaper. So I'm going to start sanding the inside, and then after I sand this inside, then I'm going to start sanding the outside, and you want to make sure that you get inside all these little grooves for the notches here, and then I'll sand the outside edge right here as well. This is the rougher sandpaper, so it's going to take off the most because there's a bit of a gloss here, and you want to make sure that you get all of that off so that the new paint adheres really well. So I'm going to put on my respirator. Okay, so now I'm going to finish it off with the 400 grit. This is a finer sandpaper, so it's going to get a lot of those imperfections and basically little scratches that we've added in with the 220 grit. And this will finish it off and make it really nice and smooth. You can tell how smooth it is when you start to feel it, and you can tell that you've gotten it all, the entire ring. Make sure you didn't miss any areas. As you can tell, it's a bit hard to grip as you're sanding, but you'll find a way to hold it with the right pressure and sand at the exact same time. All right, so now let's move on to the mineral spirit stage, where we actually wipe it down and get all of this dust and clean it up so that the paint will stick to this ring really well. All right, so for the next step, I clean the ring with mineral spirits. And what this does is it takes off any imperfections and shavings that might have been left over from the sanding. And it gives it a really clean, slick feel, so that after it dries, the primer will adhere really well. I picked this up at Home Depot. It's pretty inexpensive, maybe like $7. To open it, you need a little screwdriver. There's a tab here. What I do is I pour some on my paper towel and just wipe down the ring really well. Make sure you get inside those grooves. You don't want any particles left on here. And then I'll take the dry side and I'll wipe it down. So that looks pretty good. It's really smooth from the sanding. These mineral spirits do leave a little bit of an oil residue. So I just make sure I wipe it down really well with this paper towel on the dry side, and I let it dry for like 20 minutes or so, just until you can tell it's a little bit feel to the touch. It'll still feel maybe a touch greasy before you apply the primer, but that's okay. So now we're going to go ahead and paint the Corsair rings with primer. And what this does is it covers up any existing color that may be underneath, and it creates a really good surface for the actual color that you're going to be painting to stick. So let's go ahead and start painting these. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area, and use any kind of extra cardboard or boxes you might have lying around the house. You want to make sure you get the outsides as well as the inside. Take like a screwdriver and then I can flip them over. And then paint the outsides. So go ahead and let those dry. It could take about an hour or so. After it's dry, what I do is I tend to put a second coat of primer. So that way to make sure that, that nothing comes through, and if I've missed any spot, it'll definitely fill in any missing areas with the final coat. So now that the second coat of primer is done, I'm going to paint the first coat of metallic paint. So now that that's painted, you can wait about 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'll go ahead and apply the second coating. Now for the last coat of paint. I always tend to do 2 coats, especially on the paint, because a lot of times you notice that there's some leftover white areas and you didn't quite spray it completely. So this always fills in any leftover areas that you've missed. Also, you can see that the paint kind of stuck to the cardboard a little bit, so this extra paint will fill in those white spots. Alright, so let that sit and dry for about another hour, and then it should all be done, and then we'll put the fan rings on the fans. Alright, so here's the finished product, and you can see with the fan rings here, we've got a really smooth surface of paint, and it'll work really well with accenting these Corsair fans. So let's go ahead and switch the rings out. You have to pull apart on these edges right here. It can be a little tough at times. And then just line up the notches to the corners. And then pop them right in. And there you have it. Customized Corsair fan rings to match whatever color you're going for in your build. Alright, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and leave any questions or comments below. See you guys on the next one.